You're listening to The Authenticity Show, where you get to eavesdrop on great conversations about health, creativity, and the quest for excellence. Your hosts are Carlos Casados and Satch Purcell. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you to subscribe to The Authenticity Show if you haven't already done so, and find us on social media. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, find us on YouTube, and tell your friends about the show. Let them know you listen. This episode is devoted to poetry, specifically original poetry written by Carlos and Satch. They're going to share some stuff they've written and talk about it and kind of show us that side of themselves. So let's all be good listeners.
Good evening, Satch.
Good evening, Mr. Carlos.
Yeah, and Oliver.
Yeah, so we're in my living room this time.
We are. There's a cute dog crouched down, looking at us with loving puppy dog eyes, even though she's not a puppy dog anymore.
Nope, not a puppy anymore. She just turned 8 years old. So
8 years old,
yeah,
wow.
It's a good little puppy.
Hard to believe time flies like that.
I know.
And now she's got a drooping ear.
A droopy ear. I know, she's all falling apart. Yeah.
For not a fun reason, but it's awfully cute.
Yeah, it is adorable, you know. There are good things about even tough situations. Even when your dogs have surgeries and they get a droopy ear, the droopy ear is cute.
That's true.
And, it's probably worth mentioning that as we're recording this episode, we're in the middle of a pandemic.
We are.
And so when people are all locked up and kept away from each other, we have to, create. We have to create more. So that's the silver lining of being stuck. You have to find new outlets for your energy.
Yeah, and one of the ways that I turn situations that are less than positive into fuel for growth or for a shifted mood, one of the ways I do that is through writing.
Yeah. So we're going to be looking at some poetry tonight.
Yeah.
And I know you've got some cool stuff I see, next to you that you're going to read. I have a few pieces that I'll share. So let's get into some poetry, shall we?
Sounds good. Let's dive in.
Yeah. Can I start?
Yeah, please do.
All right. So, by the way, for me and the poetry that I write, usually I write things that are quirky, things that are sort of humorous, but speak to some kind of deep principle. That's what I like to do. Not always. Sometimes I like to write things that are very short, and this is a very, very short one.
Okay.
And it doesn't rhyme. So that's important to know before I start reading it. Okay? It's called Hope for a Flat Belly. Okay? Because I've had that hope many times. Currently, in my current state, I have managed to get a flat belly right now. Fairly
Good job.
flat.
Good
flat
job.
enough.
You're looking great.
So this is an opportunity where this is one of those older pieces that I wrote. I'm able to look back on it and go, hey, look how far I've come.
Yeah, that's right.
Hope for a flat belly. Eat very little. Eat very little. Eat very little. Eat too much. Eat too much. Eat too much. Start again. Eat very little.
Very zen.
Yeah. There tends to be a zen aspect to the pieces that I write.
Do you remember when you had the impulse to write that? Like what you were doing, what you were thinking?
I think what it was, I don't remember exactly. What I do recall is that I was dealing with the idea that it's perfectly fine to fail and then keep trying.
Ah, okay.
Failure is not a reason to stop trying. So if anybody needs to do something in life, they need to accomplish something, they have a goal that they're trying to meet, and you blow it, it's perfectly okay to blow it, so long as you go for it again. And it was just harnessing some of that energy.
We've said it before. I mean, you're engaging in a meaningful activity. There's a chance of failure, but would you stop doing it because there's a chance of failing? Like, of course not.
Yeah.
It's that whole, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly at first.
Yeah. That's true.
Until you get good at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's a good frame. Good frame to have.
And there's also the cliche of, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again, and that sort of becomes a rah thing that you hear again and again, and the mind starts to dismiss things that it hears too much sometimes. You sort of get used to this idea and you sort of say, yeah, I've heard that 100 times. So I think another thing that I was trying to do with that was say the same thing, capture the power of simplicity, but say it in a different way so that it had meaning again. Because sometimes, you have to recapture the original meaning. Some of the greatest sayings that we have in our culture, or in any culture, are things that really were quite cutting edge when they first came out. And then time goes by and we forget how much power is in some of those things. You've got to rediscover it.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that the process of feeling an impulse to write something like that and then sitting to write it and getting it out and having a finished product at the end that you can look at, does that cause a change in you?
It does. It does cause a change in me, yeah. And it re-causes it every time I go back and read it. Like time will go by and I'll forget. And then I'll go back and read it and go, oh yeah, did that come from me? Oh, that must be important. I must have needed that.
Yeah, my magical thinking cap being firmly on my head at the moment, I like to think of poems as a kind of evolving grimoire of spells for reality, ways of understanding reality that after a while you may modify the spell. You may even decide that some spell is not worth spending any more energy on. Another spell might be something you think, oh, I can develop this into something even greater than it was. But it's a magical act. It's that whole idea of I'm creating with my words. It's that urge to create that's going into it. It's all that feeling and all that desire to make something out of nothing. And it's words that are cast out, metaphorically cast out, through the physical writing, or spoken, actually cast out, with your breath. So I like to stay in touch with that metaphysical, or let's say esoteric association with it, because I do think of it that way. I think a lot about, I think about sensual things a lot. I think a lot about, our senses and how we engage with the physical world and the things that bring me pleasure. But pleasure is a multifaceted thing. Like there's many layers to pleasure. We get pleasure from different things, not just a physical sensation, but the thoughts around it, the frame around it, the context, the experiential learnings that we might get, from having that experience. And as we change, as we deepen, our ability to have a multidimensional experience where we're having an experience of something on many levels, that increases, or it seems to. So I find that spoken word and poetry is an opportunity to play with that, to kind of engage that part of your thinking mind, your feeling mind.
Yeah.
Together.
It really is something that requires both sides of the brain, so to speak. You have to get in touch with both your inner artist and your inner scientist. It's got to be logical and make sense grammatically, and you have to come up with rhymes sometimes. Hey, I just did it. Rhymes sometimes.
You did.
See, but that interplay of being creative and yet trying to harness it and give structure to it and think critically about it and then go back to your creative well. That constant back and forth is a really great training tool. And I find writing either poems or little sayings or little funny bits to be just a wonderful practice.
I would like to share one that also doesn't rhyme. Most of my old poetry did not rhyme at all. I felt that rhyming was confining. And then there I am rhyming again. But
I know. You're
see what I did there?
You're a pro at prose.
Yeah, pro at prose, exactly. But I kind of felt like it was more important to express the feeling that you're feeling in an unblocked way, as if you're tapping into a flow of something that pushes its way out of you and happens to be either grotesque or beautiful or profound or whatever it is, but it's a flow that you can capture. That was the idea.
Got it. Okay.
And so I didn't rhyme, and then suddenly I started finding myself rhyming. Okay. It was more of an unconscious competence that started to happen automatically. And now when I write, it's not all unconscious competence. There's moments where I go, what's going to rhyme with that? But then I step into flow again, and I start rhyming. So the next one I'm going to share is just one that doesn't rhyme.
Okay.
It's some ideas. So this one's called Water Under the Bridge. On the cusp of something and nothing slid a river over concrete. It reflected strange light flowing eerily within a passageway into a vanished space below the surface. Present, but present in another time that wasn't now. It was another place, not of this world, and yet it was all too real. Between times, married to neither the sun nor the moon, but somehow connected to both. The meeting point, a grayscale of misty balance, neither this nor that. What couldn't happen, happened. What shouldn't prevail succeeded. Was it because those lines between things became so pale and faded? The emergence of mysterious qualities only exist by way of a very rare alignment of destiny. Conjuncting perfectly opposing forces, dynamically positioned for a time, and within a matrix of structured silence, there is a reaction. Potent, poignant, puissant. The powerfully sparking dynamo affirmed it instantly. The magic was real. We sensed that sensation, that sense existed even where there may have seemed to be none whatsoever. We never step into the same river twice. And isn't that just water under the bridge? Was this lesson and all its wonder a wash? Is impermanence the only takeaway? The source keeps going and flowing. We never really know till when, but isn't it gorgeous anyhow, without changing a single thing? Isn't this what surrendering to higher love is all about?
Wow. I was right there with you when you were having some discoveries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Boy, you caught a lot in there. Creation, chance, permanence, impermanence. Where were you when you got this inspiration?
I was experiencing angst. A lot of angst drives me to express, but I also feel that it's juxtaposed to this feeling of really intense, mystically pervasive feelings of intense love. So isn't that interesting that there's angst and love, and they're kind of like, there's a bit of a polarity in between there. But in that moment, I felt both.
Yeah.
It's like love and sadness. A macrocosmic appreciation for the bigger picture, and also an experience in the microcosm of feeling desperate, hopeless in some ways, and also feeling in awe of something really grandiose and beautiful beyond description. So here I am trying to describe this thing that I can't really put a finger on. I can't really describe adequately, because if I do, all I'm doing is cheapening the experience in a way. I'm taking it down a notch when the way I'm really experiencing it is something beyond that. And I don't want to sell my own experience short, because it's deep and it's strongly felt. So that's where I was.
Wow. Wow.
And there are sometimes physical things around me. That very, very often when I write, it is metaphorical, and there's a lot of symbol and association and things like that, metaphor. Yeah. But it's based in something. There's always places, people, things, actions, experiences that are stimulating it. So for me, when I read that, I instantly go back through a whole series of experiences that were related to that specific poem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. As you were describing, where you were when you wrote that, I had this sort of picture in my mind of a spectrum. You were talking about love and angst, and in a way that's one spectrum, two opposite poles. And it almost seemed like you had stepped out of it long enough to see the entire spectrum all at once.
Yeah.
That's kind of the picture I got.
Well said. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I had to in order to channel that into writing,
Wow.
Because otherwise I would have been stuck in the feelings and not able to actually get them out.
It's sort of like if you're standing somewhere on the spectrum, whatever the spectrum is that you're standing on, right? And, a spectrum of light, dark, good, bad, pain and pleasure, whatever the spectrum is. It's like when you're standing in the spectrum, you can't experience the whole thing. You can only really experience where you're at. When you step out of it, you can see the beauty of even the painful side or the dark side of the spectrum. That was powerful. Gosh, I mean, the universe and water and some references to Buddhism.
Yeah.
I was embarrassed by poetry when I was young. Just totally. I mean, it had
Reading
to be
it or doing it?
Oh, I mean, just in general, the whole idea of poetry just seemed like embarrassing when I was young. It wasn't until
That's funny.
I know it was funny. Just the idea of a poem would be like, a poem. Oh, I could never read a poem. I could never write one. Oh, let alone read one. Or even you're not even allowed to like them, right? That's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
Until I got into drama. I was in high school and I got into drama, and suddenly that changes you. And I found myself being very interested in, the symbolism and things of what was written into a play, or the meaning of a scene or an object in the play. And it was like a jump in consciousness when I had that understanding that when one thing can represent something else, like a
metaphor or
the
something.
idea of a symbol, one thing representing something else, how powerful that could be. And I remember the first time it really hit me. I was actually a senior in high school. And I mean, of course, I'd had experiences, but it was this one moment I can clearly remember right now where it occurred to me how powerful words and symbology could be.
Yeah.
And, the written word. And we were doing our winter play. It was A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams. And there's a scene early on when Stanley throws a package to his wife, Stella. And she's like, "What is this?" He's like, "Meat." And it was just, a powerful moment where you realize they were telling you who this guy is.
Right.
Right? This is the hunter. This is the bad boy. This is the alpha. Right?
Clearly.
Yeah. I mean, just in that one line, what is this? Meat. You knew who Stanley Kowalski was.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, that was something, And now looking back on that, I think, wow, that was the moment when that started to make sense to me.
Wow.
I was a late bloomer in that regard. I think my earliest interest in poetry was Taoist poetry.
Yeah.
Like reading the Tao Te Ching, that really was something, that really struck me.
Same.
I started reading the Tao Te Ching when, I don't know, it was probably 8th grade, 9th grade. Admittedly that was, and this is funny, and I've told you this before, Carlos, the first book I ever read cover to cover was the Tao Te Ching.
Nice.
And then the second book I ever read cover to cover was Zen and the Art of Archery. That was the first like book that I read, like novel that I read.
Because I think you loaned me Stone Monkey, Legend of Stone Monkey, or something like that at one point. Didn't you read that as well?
You know what? Somebody loaned it to me.
And then you maybe lent
And then I think I gave it to you. That might have been what happened.
Yeah, I think
like
so.
that.
You may even give it to me as a birthday present or something like that.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And I remember loving that book. It was so interesting. It's a cool little fantasy.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
That was good. So I'm going to read something else.
Okay.
So this one does rhyme, and I'm going to try not to stumble here. Here we go. This is called Living and Giving. Once a time, I bit into a lime. Its juice poured in my mouth. Ouch! You beast, the lime cried out and squirted me in the eye. Ah, my eye, you goddamn lime, you shit, you little sour. He said, you deserve it, you monster, you jerk. That squirt is my only power. Well, I'm a vegetarian. I have to eat somehow. You're healthy for my body, lime. I need to eat you now. You're full of antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. You're plump with fatty acids and healthy polyphenols. I am a chemist who captures light and turns it into glucose. I eat dirt and drink from mud, and I make seeds on purpose. I didn't make those things for you to steal for your own pleasure. But if you must, I beg of thee, don't eat the seeds I treasure. Help me out and spit them out, to spread them on the land. Spit them in a fertile place. We don't grow well in sand. Sure, of course, I'll spit them out. It's the least that I can do. More trees with limes are good for me as much as they're good for you. And so I ate the lime that day and spit the seeds in soil. The lime became a part of me and loved and laughed and toiled. When I die, I swear that I will share my ashes in giving to an orchard full of limes so I can go on living.
That's really clever.
Thank you.
Wait, did you write that in college?
No, actually, I wrote that. It might have been. I think I wrote it last year, 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I wrote it.
I mean, all the references to polyphenols and minerals. And vitamins.
Yeah. I think I was a little more learned. Yeah. By the time I wrote this one, yeah.
It's great. It's like one of those learning rhymes where you can, because I think of how many times you've shared a lesson from Chinese medicine.
Oh, okay.
That was a story you made up, or a song, or some kind of like rhyming thing that you did to make it into a mnemonically absorbed set of ideas.
Sure.
And I love that. So anyway, it's very cute.
That was fun. Yeah. It was fun. You know what had inspired me? I do recall a while before I wrote that, I was reading some Khalil Gibran, one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how humans basically have to kill to eat.
Yeah.
And he was explaining that, well, since you have to kill to eat, basically make it like a holy sacrifice. You know, and he just described it so beautifully. And I got to thinking about that, but more from the perspective of a vegetarian. How would a vegetarian look at that? You know? Right. And then, I don't know, that stared at a blank page and that was it.
That's very fair of you to accept that you vegetarians are murdering plants.
Oh, we are. And all the vegetarians out there that say they're not killing things, they better wake up.
Totally.
You know, you're taking life.
They're not woke vegetarians.
No. They're eating cells and making those cells turn into their cells. Yeah. And that's stealing.
Yeah.
But hey, you got to do it, you know? You got to do it. Hey, if you died by a lime tree or a lemon tree or something, they'd absorb you. So, gotta remember that.
Here's another one I did that doesn't rhyme.
Okay.
Let's say this is another angsty love poem, but a way of me working through it.
Okay. All right.
You're going to be hearing a lot of therapeutic stuff tonight.
Well, let's purge it. Purge it, baby.
Living love means loving living. Finding love means loving finding. Making love means loving making. Our spark expands with the instinctual ability to become the flame. This flame breathes. It consumes. It goes where there is sustenance because it is in its nature to thrive. Yet, not all flames are destined to become an inferno. Not all flames can blaze brightly as a star or explode seemingly without limits to create new constellations around it. Each spark is part of a larger whole, a unique piece within the picture of a closed system. Some sparks fizzle and sputter and then grow silent. Forever a page, a paragraph, a sentence, or a word punctuating an epic. Seemingly, this spark makes no difference. No great tales of all-consuming wildfire. No blasting furnaces smelting ores into hardened alloys impossible to break. Indeed, some sparks are doomed to be forgotten. But all sparks, both great and small, share this in common, for sooner or later, there is no one to render the details. And maybe a lesson in impermanence is that no one is ever truly not enough, because each spark, both great and small, derive from the one great spark, the source. Too great for our limited perceptions to ever fathom and reason. Too subtle and broad to ever be contained within description. Each direction the attention goes absolutely reaches the nadir and the zenith, only to arrive at the center. From my center to yours, from my spark to yours, I'm loving you. And I'm loving you.
Oh, that was great.
It was like the Valentine's Day poem that I wrote.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's great. I love how it simultaneously recognizes that not all romance is, or not just romance, but romance or any kind of love is not always meant for the long haul.
Yeah.
But it's still legit.
And not everybody finds it in this life.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is a sad thought,
it
to
is.
be honest.
I know, it
As
is.
a romantic soul.
I know. Me
that
too.
Aches
That's
to think that, but
that's tough,
it's true.
One time I remember Swami Vivekananda saying that you don't have to drink the entire ocean in order to know what it tastes like. You just need a taste.
Yeah.
And your poem...
I so wanted to jump on that comment.
What would you have said, Carlos?
Oh, geez, I would have said, that's what I say to all the ladies.
Yeah, right.
Just kidding. Anyway.
Oh, mercy. Yeah.
Jesus. Come on, honey, I just need a taste. That's all I wanted. Just a taste.
Just right foot. That's funny. So it's
here. I'm gonna pee.
Yeah.
To give you a chance to clear the mental palate.
That's too much. The question is, will Oliver edit this, or will he leave it in, or will he make a song about it? You never know. So your poem was reminding me that even a little bit of love is still a real thing. The end. Oh, what is Oliver to do? What is he going to do with this? Oh, mercy.
I honestly have no idea what you guys are laughing
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
you'll enjoy it.
You did. You'll hear it. Oh, shit.
Oh, mercy. You know, I think laughter is actual poetry.
It is.
Yeah. And
It
laughter
is.
rhymes because each sound is very similar to the sound that came out before it. So, I mean, I'm just saying.
That's true.
There you go.
Here we are laughing with our yellow tongues,
That's
our
right.
orange tongues.
Because we had saffron.
Yeah, Satch. So what did we drink tonight?
Tonight, we had Tennessee honey whiskey that had about 20 grams of pure saffron in it. And we strained it into a cup. We strained a shot into a cup. And then you added honey and hot water. And it was just perfect tonight. It was delightful.
Why is this so good for us right now?
So saffron is something that, of course, comes more from, the Middle East. It's known more as a Middle Eastern crop. It's just the stamens that come from the flower. And it takes a lot of saffron flowers to harvest. Even like one bag, like 1 pound of saffron takes something like, a football field or something.
Wow.
It takes a lot. And in Chinese medicine, it is a wonderful herb. It invigorates blood flow and it calms the heart, and it sort of makes Carlos laugh, right?
It does.
And this is true because saffron does
Make you laugh.
it does make you laugh. It calms the spirit and opens the heart and mind and makes you laugh.
Come to think of it, our dear friend Tara, Dr. Tara Rasta, who was in our episode earlier, she was telling me that her and her Persian girlfriends would drink saffron tea like really strong, and they would just start laughing and laughing and laughing. She was saying it's kind of like a folklore thing that, when you drink a lot of saffron tea, it'll make you laugh.
Yeah. It's beautiful because in Chinese medicine, laughter is the sound of the heart.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's perfect. So it was kind of nice that we did this tonight because we're reading poetry, and the idea is it's a nice metaphor to get heart-centered.
Truly.
To read this stuff. So yeah.
Truly.
All right.
So I have a poem that's related to an astrological and astronomical event.
All right.
It has some connections with, mystical traditions and thelema and various esoteric traditions, but it was prompted by a particular event, which I'm not remembering the exact name of it, but it was like a big deal.
All the planets aligned. Or
Yeah, some kind of alignment. I just felt stimulated to write, to capture the moment. And it's called The Turning of Ages. Yesterday's sun was eclipsed, a finger placed upon lips, drawn in, recoiled within the silence of it all, but letting, loosening, and surrendering to the fall. A serpent within the egg is coiled, a hermit's work silently toiled. Harpocrates centered thoughts like these, of sacred works and mysteries. An age has turned, the years have burned, as pages torn from the book. I dare not turn and look. What was then no longer is, and what is coming now has yet to be. I am present here and free. The past was swept away, and an inner voice called to say, what new thing arises within me? What is born from primal darkness now is free. It is a babe inwardly seeking, ancient, eternal, and wise beyond reckoning. I hearken to its limitless core, that stillness unfolding where the devas soar. At the enchanted edge of paraconsciousness lay the dreamy realms of your velvetness, floating in a star-filled space, serpent entwined thereon. The new moon's darkness face, harnessing what I focus on. We want the ideas and answers to show up as logical, but deeper, we're craving the truth which shows up as paradoxical. This is beyond expression, but the words point the way. It is never the words, but the moon which the words say. Each part plays its role in a grand interplay of forces, yet always opposing as if from different sources. Death, stasis, and rebirth are but shadows of something cyclical. They are patterns of life's shadow, revealing something mystical.
Ooh. I like how you captured the limited nature of words. You sort of acknowledged in the poem that words are not going to cut it, yet there you are, doing the best you can with these beautiful words.
Come to think of it, Satch, I realize that's a recurring theme. Now that you put it that way, I think I revisit that idea a lot.
Yeah. Well, because you're trying to capture something that is like bursting out of you.
Yeah.
And you can't really capture that.
No.
I love how you mentioned that the words basically are just pointing the way, and that it's really the moon that's saying them.
Yeah.
Not the words talking about the moon, but the moon expressing the words. That was. I love that idea. It sort of reminds us that art like this is really coming from a special place. Mm-hmm. It's amazing that we even have access to it.
Yeah, and it's totally obvious, but I love playing with things that we've heard before that are kind of sayings or aphorisms, and then borrowing a piece of it so that it leads your mind towards thinking that you're going to be saying that, but it's really it's saying that, but not in the way you expect it.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a like,
I
"Oh, wait a
love
minute.
that. Yeah.
Were you talking about the finger pointing at the moon? But okay. You know, and it's still saying the same thing, but in a maybe a slightly surprised way.
Yeah.
Or surprising way.
It's like you're paying tribute to something, but then making something new out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Imagine an image of a dead black bird. An eerie image.
Got it.
Dark.
Okay.
I saw this and it immediately I had to write. It was so evocative. So anyway, here we go. Deathbird Shadow Play is the name of this. An image here captured for all to see, this shadow play shown most nobly. What once was risen above the earth is now committed to this dirt. Life and death asserts it, that none of us escape it. Earth of air becomes air of earth, all substance absorbed by turf. Feathers blown by winds once harnessed, nature witnesses her unsung noblest. No daily songs to fill the silence, no harmonies or aviary cadence. A final rest for the bird which flew, a feathered creature that no one knew. That was my little ode to the creature that died.
Wow. Oh, that was great. I love, it's just kind of ironic how you mentioned that these feathers that were once harnessing the wind are now being blown by it.
Yeah. Yeah, and this, you know, some who don't have an esoteric background might go air of earth, earth of air. You know, it's
Explain that.
You know, the earth element as it decays and becomes unsolid, and the things that bind it together start to loosen. You know, the metaphor that's given, or the ancient belief, I guess, is that the energies are dispersing and the elements are being reabsorbed by nature, by the surroundings, right? And so it's as if it gets blown away because the things that were binding it together are now no longer holding it together. This energy that binds it, this vital energy. So it's as if these elemental forces are transforming, you know, that the bird, which is airy, and had a solid body, is the air of earth, is now dead, and what made it unique, this ability to fly as a creature, is now gone because it's now planted and dying and resting on the earth, breaking apart, and yet from that solidity is now able to be blown away and carried by the wind. So the elements can seemingly become one another.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. You know, yang is always becoming yin and yin is always becoming yang.
Yeah.
You know, you just can never get away from it. Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. Well done, Carlito. I like that one. Yeah. I think I'm ready for another one. If you got another one.
Sure, yeah.
Let's
I've got
hear
a
it.
couple here.
Yeah.
This one's called, you've heard this one before, 0 plus life equals 0.
I have heard this.
Yeah. Dreamily divided for reflections provided. What lies beneath are two images collided. Past cold sweeping winds of winter's breath severe stands the image of an image before the mirror. I'm staring at the gate of the infinite. I spy a light, singular and finite. As if blazing from afar, it twinkles like a star. Alas, it is a life doomed to fade, birthed long before I was made. But the blanket purple wonder cloaks and shakes me asunder, for I feel her rapture and hear her thunder. I remember, I am of her and I return to her. I was born naked and I die without shame, naked as a babe.
So I happen to know where at least the inspiration of the title came from. 0 plus life equals 0 is something that our Tai Chi teacher would say, you know, and boy, to hear him say it has a different meaning than to just kind of hear it, you know? So could you give a little more insight into maybe to decode that for people?
Yeah, so it's this Taoist idea that we're born from this nothingness, which I don't think is really nothingness, but primordial wuji, right? The primordial possibility that is at the root of what happens is zero, represented by zero, because it's a circle. If you think of zero, it's just like this representation of infinitude in a way. It's like a circle. What is it containing? Who knows, right? How big is a circle? Who knows? In reference to what? Compared with what? It could be infinitely sized.
Yeah.
Potentially, or infinitely small, you know. So zero, it's like we're born from this place. As soon as we're born, we have life. Zero plus life. But a life is doomed to fade. A life is doomed to return to death. It's to return to the source. So zero plus life ultimately equals zero, because zero is bigger. Zero contains it all.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, when you're born naked, it's saying, for all the clothing that you put on and all the ego and all the ideas and all the identity and all the beliefs that you wear, they're like layers and layers and layers of clothing. At the end of the day, ultimately, it doesn't have the substance to last. It's impermanent. So zero plus life equals zero. It's a recognition that should always remember. It's a bit like saying memento mori, they say in Italy. You know, remember that you shall die.
Oh, yeah.
Remember death, really, literally. Yeah. Which I love that a lot, because even though it may sound dark to a lot of people, sometimes we embrace the things that are dark for good reason, because we need it. There's something about it. And as you know, certain experiences can stimulate you to think deeply about things like death.
Yeah, sure.
And they can affect you in such a level that makes you want to, in a way, embrace some aspect of it. Because when you reject something, you know, what you resist persists, right? And when you reject something, it's kind of like you're trying to push, you know, a ball into the water, and it just keeps pushing back up with greater force.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more persistent than you are. So at some level, you've got to accept death. So this is a graceful, or an attempt to be graceful, when embracing the idea of nothing and death and emptiness. There's peace in that. Yeah. There's a peace in that. It doesn't have to be a depressing idea. It can be a peaceful idea. Here's one called True Love Double Bind. Late afternoon or early evening, laying in repose, feelings deepening. Cozy blanket lain upon sheets of grass, lover's lap holds this weary head at last. Within a clearing amidst a straggle of sprawling trees, gazing relieved of its purpose, seeing what the soul sees. Looking upwards through the gently billowing leaves, I see the deep blue sky which is inviting me. Behind the pattern of dendriform dance, green fractals quiver, the mind bows with trance. Beloved orange and white luminescence, freshness in the air, living green essence. Shimmering like trickles of golden tickles down each branch and limb. An ecstasy of visions for the visionary mind to swim. Shining glow caresses my tired eyes, and dreamily I smell the skin on her creamy thighs. Simmering sensuously by the light of the sun, I drift into surrender. My heart has won. Synesthesia seizes grateful senses. Each feeling affirms its focused lenses. O symphony of orchestrated delight, attune me to the source of your light. Gently kissing, reminiscing, relaxing warmth surrounded by gentle breezes. Our bodies are cradled and time freezes. I drink thee within, sacred ambrosia. I surrender to my muse, anima. Drifted now into this expanded awareness, my heart knows this magic and it's timeless. Ever may I choose from options as these, everlasting love or deepest peace.
That ending was not what I expected.
Yeah.
Huh. That threw me for a loop right there. I mean, yeah. So you almost you have to pick between one of two excellent things, but
It's double bind.
There's a price to pay. Yeah.
Either way you go, though, it's good.
It's going to be good.
That's the other way.
That's right. That's right. Just.
I was getting kind of a moody blues kind of a vibe from it. You know?
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like you should be performing that with the London Symphony Orchestra.
That'd be cool.
Oh, that was great, Carlos. Wow. Were you in a physical location that inspired some of that?
Yes, I was.
I mean, like, were you out in nature? That's what I mean.
Yes. No, I realized that you weren't asking, was I in a physical location? Period.
Well, there was the creamy thighs line, so it could lead people astray.
No. I think I would love to share that this was inspired by an idea that helped me to tap into my resources at a time when I really needed it. Okay. So I went through something that can only be phrased as truly horrific. And when I emerged from that, I was not able to tap into any sort of peace or, prayer, meditation, positive thinking, no eyes closed processes, nothing, not even mindfulness, nothing. It was just so grotesque and terrible, the experience that I felt trapped by my own consciousness and unable to escape from the difficulties. So a couple of really lovely ladies who were psychologists, they were that work with kind of Jungian sort of archetypes. And so, my cup of tea, right?
Yeah.
I was in a workshop with them, and they offered this really beautiful advice to me that really just stuck. It was simple, but when they're asking me to connect with something that feels safe inside, I was saying, I can't, because I've been trying for a while now, and it's just every time I close my eyes, I'm having this terrible experience. So they just kind of facilitated me. They did something that I would do in an NLP course. It's absolutely good technique. She just kind of connected with me and asked me, well, when was the last time you did? Because you did at one point, right? And what was that like, and where were you? And she kind of got me distracted enough to kind of remember that moment. And she said, what happened when you remembered that? Was that okay with you?
Nice.
And so I realized in that moment that,
great.
well, yeah, I went there for a moment to describe it. It was okay. I didn't have a panic attack or whatever. And so what she just encouraged me to do is she said, just use that as your anchor. Use that as your gateway into peace. So if you ever want to do any kind of healing process, start with that image. And the image was this: beautiful green leaves with blue behind it, the sun laying on my lover's lap.
Okay. Yeah.
That image is so nourishing to my heart. I can't even tell you. And I've experienced it a couple times with lovers of mine in the past, at times. But the key was just kind of like, there's this moment when I'm laying in my lover's lap where I'm able to be in a clearing or a field and look up and see the moving leaves in the air and the blue shining or kind of coming through the green.
Yeah.
There's something so soothing to my nervous system about that, and feeling that my head is lying on my lover's thighs, that it's just that whole kinesthetic visual experience for me puts me in a really wonderful, peaceful space.
That's lovely.
It's a jumping off point for other things for me.
Puts me in a nice space just hearing you talk about it.
Yeah. It's really soothing.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that was what that was about.
Wow, that's it's helpful to hear you describe that, because it brings even more meaning to the poem.
Yeah.
And
equally, it's kind of interesting to not know the meanings and wonder where it takes you. That's also interesting too. I like both, it's like nice to hear it and just go, wow, I went somewhere, wherever that was.
Yeah, that was somewhere. Came out of the void.
It came out of the void, yeah. So this is called A Somber Night's Stroll Under the Moon. I am breaking down in the darkness, yet it continues, seeking fractured walls as adversarial avenues. No road of rage nor lane of shame, alone on melancholy lane. I walked all night in order to sleep, then dreamt of you and woke from the deep, vividly seeing, feverish reeling, aghast with shock and hardly believing. That lamp that was lit continues its burning, the only flickering hope to soothe my yearning. Give me sight and sound and feeling flight, to soar with the angels sparkling bright, gazing into open spaces between, the two not touching, but resonating. Make haste with your fearless light of living love, open the way of peace, thou white and magical dove. Why not make room in my heart for what belongs, resonating with her for whom my soul longs? Expanding openly into unknown territories, I explore lovingly while authoring new stories. I cannot explain the value of these cards in my hand, nor how to play them wisely when I do not understand. Accepting what is for whatever lesson, ancestral karmas aching for expression. Blasting Anahata pure, clean, and stainless, unstruck steel shining unhurt and painless. I am that I am, and that's all that I am. Chanting seed mantra inside the heart's ashram. You crack my soul open, Leo Luna. Would that I'd have the heart of the Buddha.
I'm not even sure what to make of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I hear you read that and I'm not exactly sure what you were referring to, and maybe a little bit for some of it. But there's something about an authentic thing that still strikes you anyway. Mm-hmm. So it struck me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously, revisiting. There's angst in that, right?
There's angst in it.
You know,
yeah.
aghast with shock. You know,
yeah, exactly.
I certainly felt that at that time.
Yeah.
But I also felt incredible love in spite of it.
Right.
It was like I felt wounded, but at the same time, I just was still very much not giving up.
Yeah.
You know, just like this is who I am, love. And regardless of this discomfort right now, I want to stay here, and I'm not happy. I'm melancholy. I'm sad.
Yeah.
But I know that this could be something that opens my heart ultimately. Mm-hmm. That was with the whole the anahata, the heart chakra, and I am what I am, right? Well, that's the seed mantra for when you chant to open the anahata chakra is yam, which is usually spelled Y-A-M.
Okay.
Yum.
Yum.
And so that's the sound that you chant when you're trying to open your heart chakra.
Yeah.
And I am that I am is a reference to the Bible as well, the Old Testament.
Yeah.
I am that I am.
Yeah. And of course, Popeye.
And there's Popeye, exactly.
But still.
And there are yams.
There are yams.
Plain old yams,
Yeah.
All sorts of references there.
Yeah. Quoting a yam. Yeah. Wow, man, that was beautiful. I mean, some of the imagery made sense to me. So,
sure.
It was. And
I hope it doesn't all make sense to you.
It doesn't. It doesn't, which is good. Yeah,
I did not
that's
want
the
it
idea.
to.
And it doesn't have to.
I wanted it to make sense to me.
Yeah. It still gave me a feeling.
Yeah, that's great.
It still totally gave me a feeling. Let's see.
Like your dog's giving me a feeling right now.
Yeah, Percy's staring at her
She
uncle.
is so sweet.
She loves Uncle Carlos.
I love how she just comes over and hangs.
I'm going to read a very short one.
Okay.
I'm inspired by your courage.
Okay, cool.
Hero me? No, hero you. Sure, famous me, but painful you. Tired me, beautiful you. Happy me, cries for you. That's called Autobiography of a Marriage.
Wow, that's insightful.
Yeah, for those who know, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, short one, but made sense to me.
It isn't haiku, but there's something that reminds me of haiku with those short ones that you do.
Yeah.
It's like there's an Asian feeling in it.
There
I don't
is
know
some
how
of
to
that.
say that any other way other than
Yeah.
we've been raised around a lot of Asian stuff, and it feels like there's a real flavor of that. in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. A lot of my short ones are like that.
That's cool.
Yeah. They're either more entertaining, like a monologue, or they tend to be more short, quick, to the point, something deep, something insightful. So here's another one that's similar to that.
Okay, cool.
Taking care of every need, grief for parts long gone, love for parts still here. I need peace, but please live on. That's called MS.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know what that's about.
You know what that's about.
Wow, I just
Yeah.
felt that in my heart.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Well.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, you gave me a little courage to share those.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
Satch, I wrote something recently, just the other day, in fact, while I was on a walk. And it could be because of our circumstances, we might not be able to exit the house for walks and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope that doesn't happen, but it probably will. And I was just kind of appreciating my neighborhood. It's beautiful. I live in Costa Mesa on the edge of Newport Beach, and there's the Upper Newport Bay Nature Preserve there, the Back Bay. There's beautiful homes and great gardens and cool trees. And
Yeah.
there was even a man riding a skateboard holding a chicken. I swear to God.
That guy.
I shit you not.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. And I didn't incorporate that into the poem. I thought about it, but I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to put that in there. But it was literally one of the things that I saw that day. And I wanted to write something poetic about how I appreciated my neighborhood and I really enjoyed going around, and there's all this fear, and why not just enjoy yourself to some degree?
To some
I'm not
degree.
suggesting
Right,
people be unaware of what they should be aware of at all. I'm just saying within what's possible, appreciate what you got.
Sounds good to me.
Walking my neighborhood, my eyes get captured. Fascinated glances, my mind enraptured. In the moment, a world to see. Flowers and birds, people, a tree. Wandering along familiar jaunts, pausing to pander to whimsical wants. Spending my time in this carefree way, affirming what emerges, life at play. Can we remember to piece together peaceful pieces in this stormy weather? Could we step into flow, trust, and connect? Allow aligning, observe, and reflect. A life well lived is never regretted. Achieving a peace multifaceted. We worry too much on many levels, running scared, fighting corona devils. We'll never know what will ultimately be, till the day happens that our spirits run free. Each stage ends without divining. When have we been less by dying? Why not live life with hope and creativity, making our days with fun in captivity?
Boy, that rings a bell right now.
Right?
Wow.
All right, one more for now. I am still with you. You are still with me. Between us, this magic as far as our sight can see. When we're together, my spirit dances, shaking, twisting, stretching, arching trances. My knowing spans life and death, living love to my last breath. Time runs fast when time should run slow. Slow down quickly to freeze time's flow. Binding and bonding, breathing our will. Eyes that gaze make time stand still. We are on this road together, riding clouds despite the weather. Drawn to the core for absolute union, ecstatic Eucharist and sacred communion.
Wow. When did you write that?
Actually, I wrote that last week.
Really? Last week?
Yeah, I wrote that one last week.
Wow.
Or maybe it was this week. Anyway, time is a...
Well, since we've all been, isolated at home,
Yeah.
I can't even keep track of the days anymore.
I know.
It's like there's just this one long day.
Sometimes I just feel this intense longing, It's,
Yeah.
and if I don't express it, I feel like I'll explode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it just needs to go somewhere. And That's what happens.
Yeah, paper's a good place.
Paper's a good place.
Yeah, not too bad. The original zip file.
Yeah.
Zip files for the heart.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is fun. Thanks.
That's an album too, Oliver. Yeah.
What was it?
Sorry. That's an Zip Files for the Heart. That's an album
Files
too.
for the Heart.
Sorry.
Is it 80s rock band? No, not 80s rock band.
Early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, this was fun. Thanks for letting me share some pieces
Definitely.
of me.
Yeah. Awesome, man. I love doing this. We've shared these things with each other over the years, and it was nice to kind of focus on it tonight.
Yep.
And do a lot of this. So thanks for being a great listener.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
You've been listening to The Authenticity Show with your hosts, Carlos Casados and Satch Purcell. My name is Oliver Altine. I record, edit, and produce the show from my home here in Orange, California. I also wrote our theme song, which you're listening to right now. This song is called Wedding Bells for the Dead, and you can find it on an album called Obsidian Kite. Please subscribe to The Authenticity Show wherever you get your podcasts, and find us on social media. And you can find our website at authenticityshow.com. Thanks for listening, and have an authentic day.